have a bit more than 15 minutes for the questions.
Great.
I am trying to help you to manage because everybody is keen to
This is also
answer.
EU, that now this is connected.
Yeah.
It irritates the hell out of me, but it's good for your work.
Okay, please go ahead. You have unique opportunity, please.
Yes, thank you for...
Please introduce yourself also.
Michael. Yes, I'm studying political sciences.
Great. In this university?
Yeah. So thank you for visiting. My question is, Prime Minister Kristen Michal yesterday meeting with you said that the minimum requirement for defense spending should be raised to 2.5%. Do you see that as a possibility?
It's absolutely a possibility, but we have not decided yet. So in 2014 it was decided we have to move to 2% by 2024. My predecessor has been successful in that because we are at or above the 2%, and even without the US we are 2%. But clearly it is not enough, so it has to move up. But it is a sensitive debate because still a number of allies, by the way, my country was not fast getting to the 2%, but luckily I just got there in time. But some others are not. They are still below 2%. And that means that we really have to play that very carefully. Because if we about now make bold statements, 2.5, or even that is not high enough, you have to go to 3 or whatever, then probably it will make it more difficult to get the whole alliance to agree. And then another question will be whether you will look at an alliance broad number or that you will more focus on capabilities and targets, gaps we need to fill and targets we need to achieve in terms of all the defense plans. So that's a bit of the debate, but it is clearly not enough, the 2%. We have to really considerably move upwards. When you look at what Russia is doing, what China is doing, it's not enough.
Okay.
Sir.
So I'm Kaari Mattias. I work at the Estonian Atlantic Treaty Association, and I'm also a
What
student.
organization?
Estonian Atlantic Treaty.
Atlantic Treaty,
Yeah.
great.
So, and also I'm a student here, but also now I'm going to start the debate club again. And tomorrow we're going to have this panel discussion about the US elections.
Yes.
And,
what do you think?
And a lot of opinions.
Who will win?
More a question.
But I need your prediction.
But the reason why I'm asking this is because we're going to have this discussion tomorrow. But is there a way that, or is there a way that you could contribute to this by saying which candidate does NATO prefer?
No. Can you imagine?
Let's just ease into it. Don't give us a nudge, wink it one way or another way.
I can't do that because obviously whoever will be elected, we have to dance with him or her, the tango, whoever will be elected. Because that's my job, but I think for all other 31 allies to make sure that whoever will be president, he or she feels welcome in all the NATO meetings and of course the new defense, so the Secretary of Defense, the new Secretary of State, etc. And I must say, I can work with both. I've had one long conversation now with Kamala Harris in Lucerne. This was the big Ukraine peace conference mid-June. I was there in my previous role as Dutch Prime Minister, and we had, for half an hour, we had dinner together, and I think she is really marvelous and very experienced, also much more than probably many people would think on the international issues, as she was sitting in on all these meetings in the White House, or where the Biden administration had to navigate the international arena. And with Trump, I worked for 4 years when he was president and I was prime minister, and we had a very good relationship. And so I can work with both. And we all have to make sure that we can work with both, because it makes no sense. I'm not entitled to vote in the US, so why bother? We just have to accept the outcome. And they both have the pluses and minuses, no doubt, but I think particularly pluses. And they both understand that NATO is crucial also for their long-term security. They are not just in because they didn't want to repeat the mistake after the First World War, and which they did not make after the Second World War, of being engaged in Europe. They do understand it is more than that. It is also for their ongoing safety and security that you want to prevent certain people to get more influence in this part of Europe, because it will be a security threat also for the US.
Okay, thank you. Please go on. Yes.
So,
My name is Alisher. I'm from Kazakhstan.
Right.
Yeah.
From which city?
I was born on the east of country, but now I has been living in the capital city in Astana.
Yes, Astana. I've
Yeah.
been there 3 times now.
Oh, great. And now here in Tallinn University, I'm a master student, and I'm writing my master thesis about NATO-Japanese relations.
NATO-Japanese?
Yes.
From Kazakhstan? NATO.
During my research, I find out that now, over the last 3 years, especially since the war in Ukraine starts, the relationships between NATO and especially Japan has been deepened significantly.
Yes.
And it increased so highly that last year NATO and Japanese officials were discussing the establishment of NATO's liaison office in Tokyo.
Yeah.
But of course it faced some obstacles, especially from the France opposition, because they were afraid that decision could increase the enmity from the Chinese side. But how now do you consider the establishment, the NATO's office in Tokyo, and deepening further the cooperation with Indo-Pacific countries, as NATO officials has always reaffirmed that Indo-Pacific security and transatlantic security are interrelated.
Yeah, very much. Now, I mean, that relationship has deepened and is strong. And I must say, the new prime minister, the previous prime minister was very much into this. The new one has a clear background on this. We had the defense minister, Gen. He was visiting in this Indo-Pacific NATO meeting we had on Thursday. He was very actively participating. I spoke with him a couple of times. And then we had the G7 defense ministers meeting where I met him again, and he is really into this. So he wants to build this. And I told him this whole liaison office in Tokyo not going ahead has nothing to do with Japan. Sometimes you have your internal NATO issues we have to deal with, but had nothing to do with Japan. They totally accept that. And we have to find a solution, a creative solution for that. But that will not hold us back on deepening the relationship, because on industry production, on innovation, on sharing information on how the security situation develops in the Indo-Pacific and here, we need that relationship with, and also with the other 3, Australia, New Zealand and the Republic of Korea. But Japan, of course, being such a huge economy in the G7, is a particular asset also to have in that relationship. Yeah.
Okay, that was a question near to Kazakhstan.
It's good to be here. I'm Birgit Popo. I'm the Associate Professor of International Relations. And
at the university here?
At the university here. And just recently we got the European Union funding and we launched our project. So we will be establishing Central Eastern European Security Hub here in cooperation with Copenhagen and Tampere universities.
Okay.
So we will be, thank you. So we will be stressing the need of taking into account Central Eastern European perspectives on security.
Yeah.
And as you said, it's truly important because obviously the region has got more dangers, that we think of security in complex terms, in terms that, our security is related. So maybe my question is that the new strategic concept of NATO, you have stressed different aspects of security. How will you stand for, all of the aspects that the security concept stresses? So what I mean here is not only the deterrence aspect, but also the human security and women, peace and security.
Yes.
So maybe you can comment on that. And my second question,
Basically, you just did.
if I may, is basically what I'm worried about and what we discuss with our students is that obviously we have to be concerned about what is going on in our region, but we also have to bear attention to what is going on globally, because our security, as you pointed out, is connected, right? So what I'm really worried about is now that the war waged in Gaza has brought out that our international rules-based law and order is in danger. So I was wondering, how do you relate to that?
Yes, well, first maybe on the first question, I mean, and you could add to this the whole society approach. And basically, Estonia is really leading here, I would say, within NATO, maybe with 2 or 3 other allies, but you were really on the forefront. I was this morning in one of your official meeting gathering rooms where you get the cabinet together once a week and they get their security briefings, and not just what I would have done in my country. You would have the justice minister, the defense minister, and the foreign affairs minister, but this is a whole of cabinet approach. And this is really different from what I've seen in my country. And I think, gee, why didn't I think of this in the 14 years that I was in my previous role? And this is an example that you try to bring all departments, and through all the departments, the whole of society, in the system. Also crucial to keep your support going, for example, for the defense spending. I mean, the economy here is now doing somewhat better, but you have had some rough months behind you in terms of inflation and other problems, as we all have seen in many countries within NATO. But you kept the support going to even increase your defense spending. So for all these reasons, you need a whole society approach, including, of course, women, peace and security. We have somebody specifically working on that in the NATO headquarters, and not so that we can say she is doing this. No, this is because you need somebody who is working on that full time, so that we get all involved and stay involved. And on your second question, maybe I could say that I spoke this morning with somebody who had information about Morocco. We have this strong relationship with the neighborhood and with the countries on the south of NATO, of NATO territory, and that is most countries, and an interesting group, including Algeria and Morocco and many others. We are helping out in Mauritania, we are helping out in Tunisia, we are of course in Iraq through the NATO mission to help them to build their defense forces. And that means that we have to do this. But we also have to make sure that this is not to NATO, but to us as people, that we keep our standards up and high. And with Gaza, it's extremely complex. I could say a lot about that, but more in my previous role. In my present role, I would say NATO is not involved. We look at it very carefully because of Iraq and the fact that we have a big mission there. And what is happening in the Middle East could have a security impact on our troops, the soldiers and the men and women helping out now to help Iraq to build their defense capability in their security forces. But we are not directly involved. So it is more allies navigating that crisis than that we do that as NATO. What I've seen is, to close off on this question, people, of course, will look at us and how we work with Ukraine and how countries in this part of the world relate to the crisis now in the Middle East. But they will also look at this from a position of interest, and they have their interest. And NATO is a very popular brand in many parts of the world, in the sense that they see us as capable, being able to provide assistance, and that's crucial. And when you look, for example, at Africa, the G5 Sahel now, and what we are doing in Mauritania, but also maybe advising a little bit, very difficult, and through others also, to make sure that it doesn't spread to countries like Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire and others, then we really play a role. But of course it is limited, because in the end, as my predecessor would say, we cannot solve every crisis.
Yes, please. Can take a couple of short questions.
My name is Elise. I'm a first-year student in university.
What are you studying? Which?
It's pretty much politics.
Politics?
With some side. So my question is that, according to statistics, the far-right parties in Europe have gained popularity. And how do you think the policies of far-right parties in Europe impact the relationships between the European Union and NATO?
Yeah, well, the fact that far-right parties gain, and this is a political comment, not as Secretary of NATO, but as a politician, is not thanks to the far-right parties. That is because the parties in the center did not provide the answers people were looking for. So when you get a surge on the extreme left or the far right, then it's usually due to the fact that the parties in the center, left of center, right of center, have not been able to somehow come up with the answers and the concrete policies people expect. And obviously that is not providing a problem for NATO at the moment or for the EU. Because there's widespread support in all 32 member states, I think, for NATO membership, and the same for the European Union. So yeah, it is what it is. But I would always say, if you want to move back to the politics of the more centrist parties, then they have to make sure that they provide an appealing alternative to the parties on the fringes. Yeah, that's how politics works. It is a free market. And I'm a liberal politician, so I believe in the free market, even in politics.
Thank you. We got some more minutes. Yes. Please, go ahead.
Yes, sure. Yeah.
Sure, please.
Thank you very much for being here. My name is George. I study... Sorry.
No.
I'm doing a master's in history. I'm on an exchange program here from Germany.
From Germany?
The question is actually from a friend of mine who's currently in Ukraine as a member of the International Legion. And if you could comment on Ukrainian special forces operations potentially outside of Ukraine, for example, against Wagner or Russian assets in Central Africa or Mali or other things. If that is something.
I would say let them concentrate on Ukraine and make sure that Putin is thrown out. Is that, Angus? I think that would be our first priority, yeah? and not have them now go to Africa. I mean, let's other deal with that. No, we need all the special forces and everyone in Ukraine to fight after it. And they are doing an extremely good job, and I have the highest respect for what they are doing. I will never, we have all seen that moment when it started, that we all thought in 10 days Ukraine could fall, and we thought that Zelensky was in Warsaw in 5-6 days after, and when he came out with that iPhone video, I'm here, and the Prime Minister is here, and the Minister of Defense is here, and the chief of the military is here. We don't need a right, we need ammunition. And from then on, it was a rallying call for all of us to help them. So let them focus on Ukraine, I would think. They don't have the luxury now to focus on other parts of the world.
Okay. Thank you. Please, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Twan. I have a bit of a different kind of question. I'm from the Netherlands.
Hey! No! And what was wrong with our university? Ended up here.
Well, I'm doing my Erasmus here, so I'll be returning back to the Netherlands. Because I'm from the Netherlands, I know you more as being the Prime Minister for us. So I was wondering, like, how does it feel now being the head of NATO instead of being the Prime Minister?
Yeah. Well, the good thing is I had 3 months in between where I did absolutely nothing. So, and of course, then on the 1st of October, it is again driving at 130 kilometers an hour again. The difference with a prime ministership is that it's more single focus, because NATO is really focusing on one big issue, and that is how to keep the 1 billion people safe. And that means that it's all, and with exceptional people from 32 countries, highest quality. Well, of course, also in the Netherlands we had fantastic people working for the government. But the fact that it is single focus, that you can really concentrate on the issues, is a difference from national politics, where you have every moment in crisis erupting your party in the coalition, and somebody says, Pete was not kind to me, and Clara was on your lap 5 minutes longer than I was. and that is not the case here, so there's a big difference. You can really concentrate on the issues, and I love it.
Probably there is one more difference. When you were Prime Minister, you had classes in high school.
I still
You still have
Yeah,
that?
still.
Wow.
No,
No difference.
I love it. You have to do that. Yeah.
We see it.
Yeah.
Well, please go ahead.
Hello, my name is Alexander.
Hello.
I'm a second year student business and public administration. I'm a former Estonian Army's professional soldier and member of Defense League, active member of Defense League. And I have...
In Estonia?
Yes, Estonian
Great.
Defense League. And I have more practical questions because, I was in a lot of military exercises, and I noticed that different countries use own camouflage, and it can increase the risk of friendly fire. Yes, and my question is NATO considering any steps to make it more easily to decrease this
Risk.
Yes, this risk. Because for me, it's a very important question.
Are we? I could easily answer this question, but no. But Angus, the Assistant Secretary General, working on everything.
So we don't have a standard camouflage. We don't have a standard camouflage for NATO, but we have all of the personnel directors for NATO in Brussels next week, and I will put this question to them.
Great.
Yes, please go.
My name is Ilya. I study international relations in Tallinn University. I'm a master's student. And I'd like to ask you a particular question. As a citizen of Turkey, a lot of people in Europe, I believe, forget how critical Turkey is for NATO as one of the strongest armies. I'd like your opinion on what you think should be Turkey's future position in the upcoming 10 months of the crisis in Gaza and Ukraine.
Yeah, but Turkey is, of course, is a member of NATO now since the 60s, I think. Even before, 1960s?
1956.
1956. So you came into NATO basically 7 years after NATO started. 1956. Okay, I thought 60. I've worked with Tayyip Erdogan, of course, over the last 14 years. We know each other very well. I'm not sure if it's working.
Yes.
But at least it gives the impression that. And I worked with Tayyip Erdogan very well. Of course, there's always a worry for Turkey that in the EU, the EU part of NATO starts to work together. And he rightly says, when you do that, make sure that the non-EU NATO allies are as much part of what comes out of that cooperation. So that's the UK, Iceland, but also, of course, Turkey. And I think he is absolutely right that NATO is also about fighting terrorism. That's a key point for him. But I think what Turkey is at this moment providing towards the collective defense is commendable. It is one of the strongest military we have in NATO, and I know that it is popular in Turkey, NATO. The brand is having an appeal, and people understand why it is crucial that Turkey is there. So I don't think I have to give them any guidance on what they have to do within the alliance. We are very happy with them. And they're an integral part, and one of the biggest suppliers anyway of military capabilities to the alliance. Yeah.
Okay, please.
Thank you.
Yes.
My name is Alexei. I come from Ukraine, but I study here. So first of all, I would like to thank you for supporting Ukraine. It means a lot to us. And as I think you know, Russia uses democracy and in European Union and in NATO, to undermine the West. So my question is, how can we combat it? How can we resist this?
But it is in all aspects superior. The fact that we have this debate that we can disagree, there is a basic belief that when people have the power and not a guy somewhere in a Kremlin type of building, that you then are more agile, more creative, that you can more quickly react to new developments. This is what makes us superior, I think, as humans in a more democratic, values-based system than when you live in an authoritarian system. And that is, and I'm always questioning myself how this happened to Russia. Because this is the country of Tchaikovsky, of Shostakovich, of Prokofiev, of Pushkin, of all the great writers and philosophers. Whatever happened there that they came under this spell? And I really pity for them, because it is a huge country with a huge potential. And one day you hope that you will have a sort of normalized relationship again with them. But it is far away now. And the only thing we can do now is to make sure that he doesn't get his way in Ukraine. Because if he does, if Ukraine would fail, which it will not, but if that would happen, it would have an enormous impact. You would have an emboldened Russia on our border, 25% more people, the huge defense capabilities your country has developed because of the war, you had to develop in a rapid speed. We cannot have that, and it would also mean that this rule of the strongest will get whatever he or she wants, that we would live by that rule. We cannot accept that. And that is why we are also motivated to make sure that Ukraine fights back and keeps on fighting back. And Russia has to understand that we will keep doing this. So the military support will keep going in. The financial support will keep on flowing to Ukraine. We will not give up. So if he ever thinks that, then he is mistaken. And we really have to... But we are a democracy, so we will have debates, and some will be a bit more somber, or maybe think, well, shouldn't we do this or that, and others will disagree. But in the end, it is superior. Have that rather than having one man or woman making all the decisions.
Talking about Ukraine, I'm very proud to say that our students were among the first ones to organize help to Ukraine.
Wow.
We are very proud.
Sorry, in the
beginning, yeah.
Full
Please.
Please.
I'm Kati, I'm a student of philosophy, and my master thesis tries to answer the question why this happened in Russia. But this is about the past, and my question is about the future. If you think, you mentioned the cyber security and developments now in future in AI, the authoritarian regimes, they don't care about rules and regulations, so we do, the democracies do. So how do we fight this unequal fight?
Well, so all these issues, the hybrid threats, the cyber, specifically focusing on cyber, they are high on the NATO agenda. So we are really developing, again, basically taking all the dust of all the strategies and policies we have. We are fighting it every day, of course, in real life. Your country is experiencing that, of course, and all the frontline states, but also the countries a bit further away, like my country or France or the UK. We're all experiencing what is happening, and that there are these integral attacks on our democracies, not militarily, but through cyber, through hybrid threats, etc. So we really have to do this collectively and together, and we are doing it. And we have a whole list of policies I won't bother you with, but in the end, we have to make sure that they do not get their way, also not in this area. It's crucial.
Thank you. I'm sorry to say that I keep the last question to myself.
This is so I was talking about democracies. Not one person taking all the decisions. And here
I know that you have a degree in history. What do you think, how our times will be described in future history books?
I think this will be a phase in world history where Churchill was right, that from all the political systems, they are all not ideal, but there is one, at the end of the day, on balance, better than all the others, which is the system where it is the people first, it is democracy, it is the separation of powers, so Montesquieu, democracy, etc., as we have here in Estonia and all over the alliance. And that because we hold on to that and believe in it, and we were willing also to put a very practical support behind it to make sure that we can defend ourselves, so also including in real money terms, that we were able to survive this particularly difficult phase. I think it will be just like that. But there will also be something else, and that has to do with that sometimes one or two people can really change history. And I think what Volodymyr Zelensky did at the end of February 22, and I visited him late January 22, and I was impressed by him. He was president of Ukraine, a very capable leader. But the way he developed himself in 2 or 3 days, from a president of a democratic Ukraine into a leader of the war effort against the Russian onslaught, is really unbelievable, including how he is using language and messaging, everything. So that will be a separate story within the bigger story. But in the end, it will be a story about how we, our way of life, our safety, our security, our values have survived. I'm absolutely convinced.
Thank you.